is to have an in-depth analysis and a revisit of the process that we have right now. So, for example, in the beginning, receive invoice via accounts payable email ap@vivasl.com. Are there any instances or other any mode of channel that you're receiving the invoices other than this email? So that's the very detail that I want to establish, just like that. So we will be needing Wilson's comment for this one. So we can do this on a per phase basis. For example, in receiving invoices, processing, and payment. But if we can manage to take it over for an hour, it's okay.
Okay, so Wilson, do
I think he
you?
had the call.
Oh, okay, okay. So Alan and I have a 12 o'clock, so we have to end at noon. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Um, that being said, I believe that a lot of the invoices come in through AP at Viva SL. And that's because they're either electronic sent directly to AP at Viva, or they are sent to the community, and then the community scans them and sends them to AP at Viva. Okay. The other way is like today, I received an invoice from one of our clients, and they sent it directly to me and Wilson. So there's always like the one-off instances that
That's
you know.
happening right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, so actually, Gina, the goal will be after we establish all of this process, we can set a rule, and through you, we can give the mass update to everyone that starting today, we will just be accepting invoices emailed via AP. If that will not be emailed through AP, that wouldn't be somehow will not be captured. So, just a mass information
Yeah,
sharing with everyone.
right.
So, okay, so first of
Uh,
all, so, oh, sorry.
okay. I think okay, that's fine. I'd like to say that that will work. However, like I just asked the client to fill out an expense reimbursement and he pushed back and said, "Why would I need to do that? I just gave you the invoices." He didn't want to fill out
Mm.
a form, you know, so but anyway, yes, in general, yes, we can send
So
out a
so on the
communication.
Viva owned, what's happening right now? So is it possible that we take over to the process because it's us, it's on us? Can you say about that?
What do you mean take over the process? Just
I
explain
I,
that.
I
I'm
mean, for
sorry.
example, sorry.
No, please.
Okay, go, John.
No, I was going to ask which client was this?
Elliot.
Okay, so what I mean on my side is that I know the fact that it could be somehow a worrisome on handling clients, right? Because they have their own free will and judgment. However, on the Viva own, so since it's on us, so can we actually take over and lead them? Somehow control what's happening.
Absolutely. There's absolutely more control over the Viva owned properties. Mhm.
Okay,
So
so we can.
I was just poking, saying that in general, in theory, it sounds good, but there's always the people that don't follow the rules.
Yeah, yeah, I understood. However, it's better to have a general rule, and we'll just talk about those that does not apply, right? So
Yeah,
let's
that's
go
fine.
over with this.
Mhm.
So it was mentioned that we receive invoices through AP email. It could be directly to the operations, just like the ED, BOM, and such maybe, and the other in charge of the operations process, plus anyone from the accounting side. So basically, there's a three source of invoice, right? Okay. So just but in Wilson, if we're missing something, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. So apparently, when this person in charge receive the invoices, the next one it will be categorized per type. So for example, it was being sent to procurement partners. So it could be utilities, insurance. Actually, there's a lot of expenses that being going over to this PP, and it could be invoices not going through procurement partners. So when you talk about invoices not going procurement partners, so is this what we are referring to? These invoices being sent to the person, right? Am I right? So it's, for example, it was directly sent to Gina or even someone in the operations. So that would fall under the category invoices not going through procurement partners. Am I right?
That's right. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so for the other one, that would be sent to procurement partner. So I just want to understand. So for example, for utilities. So for utilities, I know that you're working a lot in terms of registration and connecting these invoices to PP. So for example, we have just give Terrier as an example. So Terrier will have this registration of utility. So does it mean that this utility company will have to integrate to PP? Is that the case?
No, no. The reason why we call out utilities is because we want to make sure with utilities, we go to the website typically and pull down the invoices and process it for payment. So because utilities, they usually send out either an electronic payment, an electronic invoice, or a paper invoice. And the paper invoice would go to the community, right, where the service is being provided. And it gets so delayed to getting to AP for processing for payment. AP has a process now that they actually go to the utility websites, log in, pull down the invoice, and then process it for payment.
Okay, understood. So I'm getting the idea of sent to procurement partners basically being done manually as well. So these are invoices that are being inputted or processed via PP, where in fact the AP team is working directly on maneuvering inside the website rather than it's an initiative of them sending the bills to us. It's the other way around. Am I right?
I'm sorry, I didn't follow that.
Sorry. So let me paraphrase that. So again, I am understanding that if it is sent via procurement partner, so the initiative is coming from us, meaning the AP team will go over to the utility website, extract everything, and that will be processed into PP.
No, the utilities get processed in Sage. We do not have the utilities going to procurement partners.
Procurement partners at all.
Okay. So how about insurance? Not under
Insurance.
PP.
Also not under procurement partners at all.
Okay, okay. Don't worry, we can actually maneuver every single expenses that we can saw and review. What are the other expenses that will fall? However, I just want to clarify what's the activity that we can categorize this bills being sent over PP.
The categories for that,
Typically food,
yeah,
No, I mean, what's the activity? The triggering part. For example,
They
invoices not
order,
going.
they order from procurement partners.
Yeah.
That's the ordering. So
I
procurement,
see.
so procurement partners, it's what Natalie has a list of products and services, and the cost or the price has already been pre-negotiated. So they get a volume discount, right? So that's why they use procurement partners. So the department heads at the operational level, they go into procurement partners and they place their orders for their medical supplies, maybe their housekeeping supplies and food. So it goes, there's a whole process in procurement partners that they go in and place their order. Then it goes to the next person and gets approved. And then the order goes out to the vendor for fulfillment. And then the orders get delivered, and then an invoice comes through procurement partners, and the invoice gets reviewed, approved, and then sent over to Sage. So,
see.
so we could actually break out a whole workflow just for procurement partners. And then you would probably understand it a little bit better.
I see.
Okay.
I see.
So if you want to just put like a little blurb, hey, let's break out procurement partners in that second paragraph, in that second box.
Okay, so actually
Alright.
got a conclusion right now. So whenever the transaction is the initial activity would be from purchase order, I am understanding that it will be coursed through procurement partner. However,
Not
if it
necessarily,
not necessarily.
not necessarily, because you do have purchase orders that may apply to capital spends or things of that nature that would not go through procurement partners. Like they order a giant HVAC. That's gonna have a purchase order, but that's not gonna go through procurement partners.
That's right.
Oh, I see. So with that being said, so maybe we can ask what's their parameter or requirement that, oh, this should be done under PO, under purchase order. So do you have like amount basis for that?
No, the only reason it goes through a purchase order is because it's purchased through procurement partners. Otherwise, there's no purchase order,
Oh, I
yeah,
see, I see.
requirement. Mhm.
So yeah, because maybe it will not, get into the next process if not done because the requirement are understood right now. So apparently we can break down such as with PO and without PO. However, under procurement partners, another breakdown again because even though it has a PO, there will be two scenarios under that umbrella for
Okay.
procurement.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That makes sense. Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah,
so now.
So
Okay.
procurement partners, just so we can go, be clear on it. All right, so you have the online vendors, which are the ones that they use the POs for. All right, when they go in, they order through procurement partners for supplies or for food. All right, and then those invoices are generated within procurement partners um, by the vendors because they will submit, files, to create the vendors there, the invoices. Now, the other side of procurement partners are the offline vendors, where we send invoices for orders and supplies that don't have POs, but we need them to go through the workflow in procurement partners to the facilities. So those are the offline vendors, and those are invoices that will get processed in procurement partners and go through the workflow. Once they're done going through the workflow, they'll get transmitted to Sage.
Mm-hmm. So there's another story. It could be offline or online vendors. So I am thinking, what's the difference between having this offline and online? Maybe on my end is that if that's the
So
case, that they should use go.
yeah, so I'll give you an explanation of like the online and offline vendors.
Mm-hmm.
What we call the online vendors are the vendors that actually have been engaged by procurement partners to have their process of ordering and invoicing done through procurement partners. So they're business partners. They provide a full listing of all of their items to procurement partners, so customers can go in and view the products and order it through there. Okay, basically like Amazon, you would say, like, okay, let's go. They can go in, look at all the stuff, for Staples, for HD Supply, for US Foods, Cisco, like all of these other vendors. We have, I think, um, I forget, like uniforms too. Cintas, I think they're through there too.
Hmm.
But they can order. Those are online vendors because they are integrated into procurement partners, so we can go and order through them. The offline vendors are vendors that are not in partnership with procurement partners. These are just vendors that we are basically using the AP module in procurement partners to enter our invoices and push them through the workflow that's available in procurement partners. All right.
Okay, I see.
So
Okay,
that's the
so
difference.
so meaning if this is under the online process or online vendor, so it means that both of us use procurement partner, and there's a way that I can order, I can send a PO to them, and they can actually send back an invoice through that procurement partner channel. Am I right? For online.
For the
It's
online, yes, they will send, the person ordering will create the PO. The PO will be reviewed and approved so they can, complete the order. And then once the order is shipped and received, an invoice is going to be transmitted to procurement partners by that online vendor. And we will review it, to ensure that the coding is correct, and then push it through the workflow.
Okay.
By the way,
John?
Wilson,
Mhm.
sorry.
Sorry,
Okay,
go.
go on, John. John, do you have something to say? Hello.
John, do you have something to say?
oh no
I think
no
we
no
got.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Go, Alan.
So, Wilson, since I do not have an access to procurement partners yet, may I ask if from what you're discussing, can you demo us? Do you have an access to that one? When, for example, you are the one ordering, can you demo us how do they order and how will they know if it's through online vendors or offline vendors? Or are you as someone from AP, you're only allowed to view in the procurement partners the reviewing of the done orders?
I don't, I've never ordered through procurement partners and I don't have access to that module. But okay, so here's the difference too between the online vendors and the offline vendors.
Okay.
The online vendors are only available for people to view and order through procurement partners. They will not see the offline vendors to do
Okay.
that. So we only have the visibility to order for the online vendors. We have
Okay.
visibility on processing invoices for the offline vendors and pushing it through the workflow. So these people that have access are department heads, or regionals. They have access to viewing the offline vendor invoices that are processed through Simple AP, uh, through their workflow. They'll see both the online and offline.
Okay. Let me repeat that. The ones ordering would only have access for the online vendors, but as AP, you would be able to view the online orders and the ones for where you will process a simple AP. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Okay. So
Um,
another thing, go, John. Sorry for
I
that.
was just gonna show what procurement partners really
Yeah,
looks like
sure, John. Sure, John.
since we're here.
Right.
Might
Yeah,
save.
it's occurring to me that we never did that full like tutorial or onboarding for everybody on what procurement partners is and what it's used for.
All right, so this is the portal. So this is procurement partners, all of the controllers, not the controllers, the EDs, staff at the facilities have access to this where they can come in and create an order directly. So this is what it looks like. You choose the location, select the vendor that you're looking for, search. Nothing.
You might not have access.
I probably don't have access.
I don't think
Yeah,
you have
exactly.
access to actually purchase anything.
Put it on our thing, yeah. But this is where they have the access to go into and go and look for it. And when we're trying to review the invoices, here's the invoice order, the order ID, the location, the time frame, and this is what an invoice looks like coming directly through procurement partners. Here's the approvals, who approved it, and let's see if I can open one invoice. This takes a while sometimes. Doo-doo-doo-doo. There we go. So here's the vendor, the invoice number, date, ordered by, the users, what kind of jail code, it's going to be food, approved by, and the balances. And that's it.
So it means that if we are under the, or I mean, we are transacting under online vendor. So the conclusion that I managed to think right now is that for example, that US Food, it seems that Viva and US Food is both maneuvering and using procurement partners, right? And everything will be done online since Viva and US Foods is connected. So Viva will just issue a purchase order or will add to cart, and then apparently if all of the approvals are being made and those were approved, so it will push through to US Foods, and US Foods will not send us anything, a unique invoice under the name US Foods because it is a special scenario, because it is being coursed through procurement partner. A header of procurement partner invoice will be sent over from US Foods, right?
Correct. It's processed directly in procurement partners. The invoices
Okay.
are processed directly in there. Correct.
I see.
There won't
However,
be
for
any separate invoice.
separate invoice for
There won't be any
okay,
separate.
I see. Yeah, like the usual thing that we used to do. Like for
Yeah,
example, you have the
correct.
individual transaction. All right. Now for the offline, so I am expecting that this transaction should have a purchase order. However, so we are not connected, and this vendor is not using procurement partner, right? So in that case, we just have to execute PO, and we are expecting to have invoices being sent online rather than extracting it in procurement partners. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay, so those are offline vendors. And then again, I think that their requirement is to have this purchase under procurement partner. So I'm not sure if they're, they have this constraint, or like you should order through procurement partner. So I think that is not the case. That transaction is not limited by using procurement partners only for offline. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry. Can you
Okay,
rephrase
so
that?
okay, sure. So for offline, then again, it is a requirement for us to create a PO because that process is
No.
no.
Okay, so no, offline, there's no PO. We don't create,
I see.
right? So that, right there, you don't have to worry about that. The POs are only for the online vendors.
Mhm.
The invoices that we push through Simple AP for the offline vendors are just the invoices. We don't have any purchase orders for that.
Oh, I see.
So
So
Wilson, sorry. Okay.
go,
So
Allen.
Wilson, how do you view the orders not through online vendors? How do you receive it in your side in AP?
Invoices.
Invoices
How does it look like?
for the
Yeah.
online
No, the
vendors,
orders, the orders.
how do we
How do
For
the
for the
departments order for it?
for offline vendors?
Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes.
There isn't a PO process for offline vendors.
Yeah, I mean, since for the online vendors, the department or the one ordering can order it through the online. But you said that for offline transactions, you can process it in the procurement partners through Simple AP. So how
Yes.
will you know their orders? How do they send it to you?
how do you identify the ones that are offline vendors and
Yeah, yeah.
choose which ones you process through Simple AP? That's the question, I guess.
Okay, so we identify those invoices by the vendor, who the vendor is. Um, we have the offline vendor set up in Simple AP, so we run, a list of that to give everyone to make sure that when they see invoices for that vendor, they
Got it.
email them to Simple AP. The way that those are coded are through each vendor is set up with basically a default expense code. So once it's uploaded and it picks up all of the line items, that default expense code is going to hit all those line items. We have to go through there and work it and then identify if a line item needs to be changed to another expense code. Because we do not have like it would be easier if we had a purchase order to process those, to do a three-way match. That way, when we set up sent the invoice to Simple AP, we could match it to a purchase order, and then automatically it picks everything up and it codes it. But these are basically like you're doing, you're just processing an invoice without a PO.
Okay, so my question, why is it under procurement partners? I mean, what's the use of procurement partners for
The
offline
use,
vendors?
the use is sending them for review and approval to the communities, because we need more of a a process that you can follow the audit trail instead of having somebody send you an invoice, signed and dated, because then you would have to go in and look at the image. Instead, you can run reports through procurement partners to identify, who entered it, who reviewed and approved the first, for the first round, and then the second round, who reviewed and approved it,
So
right?
it's a control factor.
So it's
Yes,
control. It's for
I
control.
see. So we're just using PP for control and trail for offline vendors
Yeah,
because
because
basically somehow it's the requirement for Viva.
we don't have workflows set up in Sage at the moment.
Mm, okay. Now, see, we're okay with those being done under PP. Now, if it is not being done under PP, so you mean it is not required to have these approvals for the certain department heads?
Yes, sometimes we'll get invoices in other ways to go directly into Sage. So vendors that are kind of like, not used as often, maybe like a repair, a plumber, a painter, a carpenter, somebody like that. Usually it's on an emergency service type of thing. So they will
Mm-hmm.
send us the
Request.
invoice, yeah, the invoice directly to AP, and we'll see if there is an approval through the communications that they provide, or
Uh-huh.
take their, if you can process this from the person, and some usually it has to be somebody that can approve it. We process the invoice directly in Sage instead of sending it through procurement partner.
I see. I see.
Okay.
So,
Check requests, those come with a signature requirement. Expense reimbursements, those come with, signature requirements. So we have the approval there. But sometimes, yes, I have to remind them, hey, if you get something, make sure you attach the email to it. That way, they have a way to, communicate with somebody and ask them, well, where was the approval for this, or who gave the original approval for it.
do you have forms for reimbursement or for special request?
Yes, we do have an expense reimbursement form that we provide to employees, and we also have a check request form that we have provided to the community so they can fill that out and submit it for payment.
Okay, I see. So I think we're done with the PO side. So just one confirmation from my end is that basically I am concluding that approvals is within the operations only. AP and accounting and finance doesn't have a say on approvals. Am I right? So basically we're just processing what's done what's being approved.
Yes, and AP technically does have an approval, but it's the final approval just to confirm that it's gone through the system itself. Am I correct, Wilson?
Yep.
Yeah,
Let's just give it
that's
like a one last
I
look.
So
And
Gina is not also approving any invoice
No.
and special request. Okay.
No.
It's coming from the regionals and those top management under operations. So it's the end product on our end. It's done, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that would settle the first box, categorize invoice per type. So Allen, do you have follow-up questions for this first one?
I do not have the question for that.
Okay, so again, on our next meeting, you will be expecting to see a lot of channels in this flowchart. Okay,
Mhm.
so next will be check invoice details for coding. So basically, if invoice is coming from PP, so what are you like checking? It's like on the codes, the amounts. What are you guys doing?
Yep. So, um, in each module that we use, um, the invoices have to be reviewed. There isn't a process where the invoices aren't touched at least once. You know, we have to make sure that we do a review of that the correct vendor was picked up when it's transmitted to procurement partners. We also have to make sure that we're selecting the correct vendor in Sage when processing it in Sage. Then the invoice information. We have to make sure that we input the invoice number correctly. That way, the validations that we have in place with both systems can recognize any duplicate invoices that may be processed. And
So
but
sorry, but
that's, you know,
sorry.
there's a small, you know, a margin of error for that. You know, sometimes numbers get transposed and maybe an invoice will go, you know, through on the vendor on the invoice number and still be a duplicate. But again, in procurement partners, that should be reviewed by the people approving it. You know, that's why we send those invoices off for approval so they can review all of that information. Then the date, obviously we pick up, we may ensure that the remittance address is correct. We enter, you know, make sure that the terms are what they have agreed to. Some vendors maybe they may have different terms on their invoices, and we've negotiated a different term, so they won't have that one won't matter. But as the processors go along, they know they get familiar with which ones are the terms that you know are going to differ from the invoices. After that, you go into basically the items purchased, and you'll work that line by line to see if there's different items that belong to
Different GLs.
different GLs to different expense codes. Um, that sometimes, you know, what they'll do is they will batch the entire invoice under one expense code if it's just related to one, you know, total expense. And once they're done breaking out all of that, they have to verify, you know, that taxes are included, verify that any other additional fees might be included. And it all has to match the total on the invoice at the end. So once they're able to, you know, match the total on the invoice, they can, you know, do one final sweep of the of what they entered and submit it either for review and approval through procurement partners, or they just post it in Sage.
So this check invoice details is between categorizing and sending to department heads. So do you mean that AP is checking it prior sending it to department heads for approval? So
Yes.
you are part of the process. So
Yeah.
unless you trigger the send approval to department heads, that wouldn't happen.
Yes.
Okay, so good. So basically, there's scrutinizing in this part prior to the approval of department heads. Okay, so the next one would be, but then again, it is inside on the procurement partner. We're not talking about Sage right here because it's a different checking when you go over and
Yeah,
code everything in Sage.
so yeah, and procurement partners usually they come up. The difference is again between the online and offline vendors. The online vendors you would have a PO that it matches up to, and if the person ordering it selected the correct expense codes for each item that they were purchasing, then that would translate over into the invoice when it's received because the invoice is matched to the purchase order, right? So all of that information should transfer over. Sometimes they don't do that. They go in and they just, let everything go to one expense code on the purchase order. And we have to go through and identify the items that need to go to different expense accounts.
I see. So after that, you send over to department heads, requester for review. So do you have something to share on the approval levels? So do you have like org chart for this?
I think there was one in procurement partners. Let's see, administration, approvals. No, those are approval notifications.
Are you still sharing your screen? Sorry.
I
hit the
stopped
mute.
sharing because I
Wilson
think
will
Wilson
share.
will share.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, in here, they would usually, they create their orders through this. I can review the purchase orders through here, and then all of the transactions also come through here as well. Like this is another section where I can, view the orders, and there's order approvals here, but that mostly is managed by Natalie. So we'll just go to invoices. Usually they have a lot, this is defaulted to Harrisburg, so we can look at an invoice here that is currently in awaiting approvals. And as you can see, this is just a credit that's going to Bill. Usually those just go directly to him. And you can see here. All right. Where is it? He has this ambassador of dietary services role, and then the final role is for us, for AP to do another review. Now, let's look at another one. Okay. See, I don't know how to pull these, what the requirements are, but you can see it's usually like 3 steps. It goes to the invoices goes to the orderer, to review approval required by whoever it was there, and then the invoice goes to the administrator, who is Millie in this case, and then once Millie approves it, it comes back to AP. Now, I don't know exactly what drives the thresholds here. I have to ask Natalie on that. Invoice approvals. Security invoice rules. Oh, here they are. Yeah, you see, like here are the thresholds. It just goes to them. The second step is see if they have a threshold here for them. They don't have a threshold. You just go to all invoices.
Staples usually fall, I mean, what's the nature of staples?
Staples office
Office.
supplies.
Ah, I see.
Hey, John,
Yes,
sorry, so, there is a pro forma meeting at noon in regard to Waterford.
got
And
it.
can you please send out the latest? He just sent me a WhatsApp.
I was just downloading that WhatsApp to see what the heck.
I just invited you to it because it's ridiculous that I have text messages, WhatsApp, and Teams, and he asks everybody a questions on using the same thread. It's a little annoying.
Hmm. So who's everyone? And I can certainly send it out. It's just going to be
He said,
Chris,
please
you.
send the most recent approved form pro forma to the team. That's it.
So it's you, me, Natalie, um, Heather, I'm
Kissy.
assuming,
Yeah,
Kissy,
and I guess Elliot and Chris.
Chris, and Elliot. Got it. Do it right now.
Okay.
So you can see here they have workflows set up for each vendor that is an online vendor or offline vendor. You see all of the
Uh,
offline vendors are here.
Wilson, so can
Mhm.
you show us the tab for the simple AP because I can see that uh, that is there, so we can have an idea on how to process. How do you process the offline orders?
All right, so simple AP.
Okay.
So these items are coming in. These are the simple AP items that are emailed from us directly to procurement partners, or if a vendor is provided the email to send their invoices directly to procurement partners, then it'll come through simple AP, and we will look at it. Sometimes it'll read the information correctly on the invoice, and it's going to tell you the invoice date. The location is automatic because the invoice is being sent to that dedicated email. The invoice number should come up if it reads it correctly, and you should have the vendor here if they're able, the OCR is able to recognize a vendor. Most of the time it doesn't, until it kind of gets familiar with the invoices. But right now you only get like the total amount and then some other information here of what's going on. So when a team member goes in to review an invoice for simple AP, they verify the location, which you can see here. It is for James, and then the vendor, they're able to pick it from the drop down, right? There is no Home Depot here for this because that should be an online vendor. So the team will look at this invoice and say, okay, well, what's the invoice number? Let me pop this out. They'll have to check here in the invoices again to see if this came through. But here's the tricky thing with some of these invoices. You have to check the date on it. And sometimes it takes 24 to 48 hours for the invoice to come through. So they'll have to leave it in this status of simple AP. Just leave it here until they can review it and see if that invoice came through, because that's an online vendor and they shouldn't push that invoice through unless the location isn't set up with that specific vendor.
So you mean, Wilson, it should have been in the through procurement partners order and not in simple AP? Is that what you
Yep.
mean?
Mm-hmm. But
So it
HD Supply,
happens. Oh,
yeah. So HD Supply, like we've kind of explained to them that they don't need to send us the invoices, but they still do. So it just creates more work for us to review and process them. But we have to wait and see, because that, like I said, right now we're experiencing a little bit of delay since we transitioned over, and we had a discussion with them on Friday about it. So they said, just give it like, 2 or 3 working days before, you check the invoice. This is another vendor that should be online, Clean Slate. So you'll be able to see it over here. We have a Clean Slate offline, but we don't want to process this again. Like, they're going to have to go in and review that invoice number to make sure that it hasn't been brought in. And you have like all these other invoices here too. But let me see which one. Like, you see Qualmax, these should also be online. MedNet, that's also online. I think that one's online. Yep.
So Wilson, let me clarify again. Who uploads the invoice there? The vendor?
2 ways. Either we give the vendor the email to send the invoice directly to the facility's dedicated email,
Okay.
so it comes into Simple AP, or we receive it at the AP email, and then from there we determine if it needs to go to procurement partners or if it's processed directly in Sage.
Okay, so when the vendor emails it to the dedicated email for facility, the invoice directly will be directly uploaded here in procurement partners. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll see it here. It should
So
come.
there's a rule that whenever we got an email from the supplier, it will be automatically uploaded in BP.
No, not the email they send to us. That will not be redirected automatically. We have to
The one
review the
sent to
email.
AP.
Yeah, the ones that they
Okay.
send directly to the procurement partner dedicated email for the facility.
Oh, I see.
So we have,
Basically through PP.
yeah. So basically, we've asked procurement partners to create an email that will receive the invoices from us and from vendors if we want them processed through Simple AP.
Mm-hmm. It's a good feature.
Yeah, it does
Now,
help
are there
out.
other potentials for duplicates?
Oh yeah, there is, because if we are late with invoices, and which is the norm, we are experiencing a lot of duplicates that have to just be deleted from the system.
Mm-hmm. So that's the vendor's error. Right?
Yep.
Sometimes.
Hmm.
So how will you determine if it will it be processed if it is duplicate, if it is the duplicate, or won't it proceed?
It won't process. It shouldn't process, because if it's a
Okay.
duplicate, it'll give us when we
The same.
select, yeah, if we select the vendor. Let me see if I can.
Can you delete invoice or not?
Yes, it gives you an option down here to
To
delete.
delete. Okay. Once you're sure, you can delete it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What if it's the errors coming from us? We suddenly delete this. Can we get over this invoice again?
Usually, yes, because we should, if we delete it by accident, we can either go back to the vendor and get a copy,
Pass
or if
again.
we sent it from our email, we can pull it and just upload it again.
I see. Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
We do have the ability to manually enter invoices here too, where in Simple AP you can just go in and create a new invoice. So you just hit create, and then you can upload the invoice to Simple AP and pick everything out yourself. But right now, we are completely focused on having them transmitted to the dedicated emails, so the OCR can pick up as much information as it can, and then we fill out the rest.
Mm-hmm. So, sorry, simple AP means that PO is not required. Am I right again? Or
Yeah,
not?
PO, yeah, and there's no PO.
For simple AP. Everything that does not require PO falls under simple AP.
Yes,
Okay,
everything
I
that has
see.
a
That's
everything
processed
that
through procurement partners.
yep,
Under simple AP.
with the PO.
I mean, prior to having these invoices, since it is under procurement partners under simple AP invoice, so it is a requirement for us to create PO, or it is, or is it, does it have PO or not?
No, there's no PO. We don't create POs. We don't have a
Yeah.
requirement to have
Mm-hmm.
um, the processors create, the POs for this.
Mm-hmm. So then again, the reason why we have this is for approvals only, for the audit, I mean the trail of approvals, right?
Yes.
I see. Okay. So any important points for us to know, Wilson?
Um, for this, yeah, it's just that they have to be mindful of what the vendor is, who the vendor is. If you look, like like I was showing before on some of these,
Guys, I have
you
to
see
go.
the
We just
invoice.
started the other meeting.
Bye.
All right,
Thank you,
Thank you,
thank
John.
you.
John.
Yeah, sorry, so do I.
It's
No
okay.
worries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
We'll continue
Thanks.
this.
All
Okay.
right, goodbye.
Okay. Well, we just have 3 minutes left. Yeah, we will just maximize these 3 minutes. But then expect Wilson on the next presentation. That would be on Thursday. That we will have a more detailed flow chart. And we stop where, Allen?
So, yeah,
On
in the
invoice.
checking of invoice details. So, Wilson, is that training and documentation hub tab functional? And if you ever, can you set up an access for us or
Yep.
in there?
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Yep.
most of the our questions can be answered there. Do you think, Leah? I think I can
Mm-hmm.
try to access that and yeah.
Yeah, like you see, like if you're able to navigate through it,
Yes.
um, you will be able to get familiar with like most of the things. Like today, I didn't, I'm not familiar with the actual setup of what was going on here.
Yes.
Like how are the invoices? How do they move on? They just have steps. They don't have a
Yes.
threshold setup. Okay, so if you
Yes.
when you look at these setups here, for each vendor, they actually have to set up a workflow for each, which is kind of crazy to me because I'm used to having more of a condensed workflow process setup, which is based on thresholds. Like here, like it would be okay. The first person does it up to $1,000. The next person is, $2,500,
Yes.
and then after
Yeah,
that
I,
it's
I
like
know
five
what you
thousand.
mean.
Yeah.
But there
So.
all of the amounts need approval.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Okay.
they have to go through the whatever steps are set up for each vendor.
Okay, I can somehow grasp the workflow of the procurement partner. So I think
Hmm.
I can um dive into it if I have an access to that, because I think it's pretty straightforward, and it's I think it's a simple interface that we can easily navigate. So if we want to know the process, so
Yes, yes.
All right.
So this will be ended. So right now we will just let you know the further updates on the next meeting, and we'll just continue what we have done.
Okay, sounds
Okay,
good.
thank you so
Thank
thank
you
you,
all for
much.
helping me
Wilson.
out with
Thank you.
this. I know a
Bye.
lot. All right, have a good
Thank
one.
you.
Bye.